You're not afraid of failure. You're not truly afraid of rejection or of being seen for who you are. What you're really afraid of is yourself. It's the moment you look directly into your own soul and realize there's no more room to hide. It's the quiet truth you've been avoiding, that you're living far below your true potential. Carl Jung once said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." Fear isn't your enemy, it's a mirror. And deep down, you know it, you feel it. When you stay silent in a meeting, even though your mind is burning with ideas, when you say yes to something you want to say no to, when you scroll for hours just to avoid the one thing you know you need to start, that's not laziness, it's not a lack of motivation, that's fear disguised with precision. But today, we're going to strip away the disguise, and together, we'll begin the journey to decode fear and open the door to the truest version of who you are. You've been taught to run from fear, to suppress it, silence it, fight it. But what if I told you that fear isn't here to harm you? Fear is not the villain of your story. It's the whisper in the dark trying to lead you home. You feel fear before you speak your truth, before you walk away from something that's draining you, before you step into something that actually matters. And we freeze, we stall, we retreat, because we were conditioned to believe fear equals danger, fear equals stop. But Carl Jung saw it differently. He said, "Where your fear is, there is your task." That's not just a poetic idea, it's a map. Fear doesn't mean turn back. It means pay attention. It's not a stop sign, it's a signal, a messenger from the parts of you you've been avoiding. It points directly to your growth, to the exact doorway you've been too afraid to walk through. And here's the twist most people miss. Fear doesn't come up around things that don't matter. It shows up around the things that do, the things that touch your identity, your voice, your power. That's why fear feels so personal. Because it is personal. It's not there to punish you, it's there to awaken you. So the next time fear rises in your chest, don't ask, "How do I get rid of this?" Ask, "What is this fear trying to tell me? What part of myself am I being invited to meet?" Because when you stop treating fear like a threat and start listening to it like a teacher, everything changes. Most people think fear is something to push through, that it's a surface emotion you can outsmart, outrun, or override. But Carl Jung knew the truth. Fear isn't the fire. Fear is the smoke. The fire burns deeper in a place we rarely look. He called it the shadow, the unconscious part of ourselves made up of everything we've rejected, denied, or buried in order to be accepted. Think about it. If you were told growing up that anger is bad, you likely suppressed it. Now, as an adult, you fear conflict and can't set boundaries. If you were told you're too emotional, you shut down your sensitivity. And now, you fear intimacy because vulnerability feels dangerous. This isn't just behavior, it's memory. It's the nervous system protecting you from what once felt unsafe. But here's the paradox. What you suppress doesn't disappear. It just hides and gains power. The shadow isn't evil. It's not some monster lurking in the dark. It's made of all the parts of you that were once true but became unsafe to express. Jung said, "The shadow is a moral problem that challenges the whole ego personality. To become conscious of it involves recognizing the dark aspects of the personality as present and real." Facing your fear is not just about becoming brave. It's about becoming whole. Because the more parts of yourself you exile, the more fear has room to grow. Fear feeds on fragmentation, on denial, on disconnection, and here's the trap. You think you're being humble when you say, That dream's too big for me. I'm not the kind of person who can handle that. But that's not humility. That's the shadow speaking. That's fear disguised as modesty, shaped by a version of you that learned to stay small to survive. If you want to dissolve fear at the root, you don't overpower it, you integrate it. You sit with the parts of yourself you've buried and ask, what were you protecting me from? What do you need me to reclaim? This is how fear transforms from a jailer to a guide. And when you make peace with your shadow, you unlock the very power it's been hiding all along. Fear is not always obvious. It rarely storms in, shouting warnings. More often, it sneaks in quietly, dressed as something else, something acceptable, something logical, something safe. And that's what makes it so powerful. You think you're just being careful. You think you're just being responsible. But underneath, it's fear camouflaged, calculated, and convincing. Let's unmask some of the most common disguises fear wears. 1. Fear as overthinking. You lie awake at night playing out every possible outcome. What if it fails? What if they laugh? What if I regret it? You tell yourself you're being strategic, but it's not strategy. It's paralysis. Overthinking is how fear delays your evolution. Carl Jung once said, "Thinking is difficult. That's why most people judge." We overthink not to gain clarity, but to avoid action. 2. Fear as perfectionism. You say, "I'll start when I'm ready. I'll launch it when it's perfect. I'll speak when I have the right words." But that moment never comes. Because perfection is a moving target designed to keep you stuck. It's not ambition, it's fear afraid of being seen as not enough. Jung would say, your ego is shielding you from bruises to your self-image. But perfection is an illusion, and every time you wait for it, you surrender power to fear. Number 3. Fear as people-pleasing. You nod, you smile, you agree. Even when everything inside you wants to scream, "Number." Why? Because somewhere along the way, you learn that love is conditional. That safety comes from being agreeable, likable, small. But living to be liked is the fastest way to abandon your truth. And Jung warned us, if you betray your inner truth to gain outer approval, you create a false self. Nothing suffocates the soul faster than living as someone you're not. 4. Fear as logic. This one is subtle and deadly. You convince yourself you're just being realistic, that bold dreams are naive, that people like you don't get to do those things. But the question is that logical? Is that a story fear taught you to protect your comfort zone? Fear doesn't always say number. Sometimes it says, wait, be smart, be safe. And you believe it because it sounds responsible. But the truth is, fear will wear any face you'll trust, just to keep you from becoming the person you're meant to be. By now, you've seen it. Fear isn't random. It's personal, strategic, psychological. It's not just something you feel, it's something you learned. So the question is no longer, how do I get rid of fear? The real question is, what part of me have I exiled in order to feel safe? This is the beginning of integration. Carl Jung believed that true power doesn't come from suppression. It comes from wholeness. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, he wrote, but by making the darkness conscious. In other words, you don't need to fight fear. You need to understand it. To turn toward the part of yourself that fear is trying to protect and make it part of your conscious self again. Here's how the integration process begins. Step 1. Name the fear clearly. Don't generalize it as anxiety or stress. Be precise. I'm afraid of being judged when I speak up. I'm afraid people won't love me if I show my sadness. I'm afraid I'm not smart enough to pursue that path. Naming it pulls the fear out of the shadows and into the light, where it loses power. Step 2. Identify the origin. Ask yourself, where did this fear begin? What moment, what person, what environment planted that seed? Maybe it was a teacher who laughed at your answer, a parent who withdrew love when you cried, a friend who betrayed your trust. These memories live in your subconscious, still shaping your behavior until you meet them consciously. Step 3. Reclaim the rejected self. This is the most liberating part. Ask, what part of me did I abandon to survive? Was it your voice? Your boldness? Your creativity? Your truth? Jung taught that these parts don't disappear. They go underground, into the shadow. And unless you bring them back, you'll always feel fragmented, always on edge and never fully yourself. Start small. Speak up even if your voice trembles. Say no even when it terrifies you. Create even when fear screams that no one will care. Every time you act in alignment with your wholeness, your brain rewires, your nervous system relaxes, and your shadow becomes your strength. This is not about becoming fearless. It's about becoming fear integrated. You don't conquer fear. You cooperate with it. And in doing so, you step out of survival. And this isn't about becoming fearless. It never was. It's about no longer letting fear decide your life for you. Carl Jung called it individuation, the sacred journey of becoming whole, of reclaiming every lost, buried, silenced part of yourself. Not just the polished version, not just the part the world applauds, but the real you, the one beneath all the masks, all the roles, all the noise. Because the opposite of fear isn't confidence, it's clarity. Clarity of self, clarity of truth, clarity of purpose. And the more you live from that clarity, the less power fear has over you. Yes, fear may still whisper, but now you listen differently. Now you hear it as a guide, not a chain. Now you respond from freedom, not reflex. So the next time fear shows up, don't shrink. Don't run. Don't numb. Pause. Breathe. And ask, what truth are you trying to show me? Because once you dare to face that truth, you don't just become braver, you become free. If this message stirred something in you, if it cracked something open, or put words to a feeling you couldn't name, then don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who might need this. Like it, not for the algorithm, but because it tells us this message mattered. And if you want more conversations like this, raw, unfiltered, soul-level truth, subscribe and tap the bell. We're just getting started. This is not motivation. This is liberation. And your path to wholeness starts now.